49ers instant reaction time. OTA open practice number 2 is finished, and right as the session started, we learned that Jauan Jennings has re-signed with the 49ers on a 2-year extension. So he didn't sign the $4.9 million tender. Instead, Jauan Jennings got a well-deserved pay raise. 2 years worth up to $15.4 million with $10.5 million in total guarantees. The numbers according to Adam Schefter, confirmed by us over at The Athletic. Listen, Jauan Jennings is one of the toughest players in football. He almost won the Super Bowl MVP. He's done stuff the right way. He actually got kicked off the team at Tennessee years ago, but earned his way back on because his teammates respected him so much. Parlayed that into an opportunity, 7th round draft pick at the NFL level. And even though the 49ers put him on the practice squad that first 2020 season, Jauan Jennings has earned, he's clawed for everything that he's gotten on a loaded roster, no less, to get to the point that he's at now. And that's big money, up to $15.4 million. I think it's a good bet to think that Jauan Jennings might earn every cent of this deal, including whatever incentives are there to push it up to $15.4 million. Other thing is, this does not mean writing on the wall for Deebo Samuel or Brandon Aiyuk. The 49ers are simply trying to load up the receiving room. They're trying to stock as many weapons around their MVP finalist of a quarterback. You may have heard of him. His name is Brock Purdy. So many people who were wrong about Jauan Jennings. They said, oh, the 49ers aren't going to extend Jauan Jennings. At most, that tender is there and that's going to be it. Well, right away, the 49ers extended Jauan Jennings. I mean, so much of this narrative now has turned to, oh, this must mean something regarding Deebo Samuel and Brandon Aiyuk. And no, guys, this is a smart, cap-efficient 2-year deal that actually probably will lower Jauan Jennings' cap hit over what it would have been with the tender. That was $4.9 million, because you're locked into the tender for 1 year. You can't move that money around. With a 2-year contract, you can add void years. Even if it's worth over $7 million per year, they can actually lessen the cap hit to under that $4.9 million for this season, and they could get more flexibility. So this actually allows the 49ers to be more creative with a contract for Brandon Aiyuk. It allows the 49ers to be more creative in general regarding the roster and the receiver room in particular moving forward. And the simple truth is that the 49ers are in no position to be giving up good players, especially good players that surround Brock Purdy in this offense, that are targets for Brock Purdy in this offense. And I remember the NFC Championship game, the off-schedule play with Purdy rolling to his left, getting hit really hard and tossing it up, and Jauan Jennings making the catch. I remember the divisional playoffs. I remember Jauan Jennings over the middle from Brock Purdy. I mean, that's rapport. That's 3rd and Jauan. Those are big plays in huge moments. And then obviously Jennings being the former quarterback, also a 7th round pick. The 49ers have 2 former college quarterbacks who are 7th round picks on this team, Brock Purdy and Jauan Jennings. But being the former QB in the Super Bowl, Jauan threw that touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey. He's just so valuable, and I haven't even gotten into the run blocking yet. But you want this guy on your team surrounding Brock Purdy with that rapport, with that ability to block, to be part of the 49ers offense. You want Deebo Samuel on the team. You want Brandon Aiyuk on the team. Injuries can happen, but even if they don't, you're moving to a more pass-first offense. I mean, just today, Chris Furster, 49ers offensive line coach, talked about the fact that Dominic Pooney, the 3rd round pick at offensive line, is actually a better pass blocker now than he's a run blocker. He's going to have to adapt as a run blocker moving forward, and that's a change from 49ers offensive line prospects of the past. They're focused on this pass game. They're focused on Brock Purdy. They called more pass plays than they did run plays by a lot in the postseason. And having Jauan Jennings back now for 2 more years, not just this one, and it wasn't even secured for this one. They're still waiting for Purdy to sign that tender. Having him back for those 2 years is a big deal when it comes to the 49ers and the structure of this team that they're building around their star quarterback, Brock Purdy, who's going to be eligible for money of his own next offseason. So we're out on the practice field today, OTA open practice number 2. No Christian McCaffrey. I don't think the people are freaking out about it around the 49ers, though. Again, he's getting married this offseason. I think that he probably, speaking of contracts, he might deserve at least a guarantee of his deal, maybe a tack on at the end. He's got 2 years left at about $12 million. Nothing there is guaranteed. And Christian McCaffrey is obviously very important to the 49ers. That being said, the reports are that his absence right now doesn't have anything to do with the contract, but we can still toss out there that Christian McCaffrey might be amenable to a sweetening of the current deal because the 49ers are getting a subsidized one. But he wasn't there. I'll tell you what, the rookie Cody Schrader out of Missouri, I can't wait till pads come on because he just seems to have a good feel for where to run. And it's hard to tell before the pads are on, before the live tackling happens in preseason. But I saw him take a couple handoffs today and he looked good. And you know who else looked good for the second straight open OTA practice? Ricky Pearsall. Very first play, Brock Purdy finds Pearsall, who had generated great separation crossing over the middle of the field. Pearsall made a handful of catches again. He looks the part. He was wearing a blue non-contact jersey today, so something might have happened in one of the OTA practices last week where he got a little dinged up. The thing is that there is no contact in these OTAs anyway, so that's merely precautionary. But Pearsall looked every bit a big part of what the 49ers were doing. The rapport with Purdy seems to be growing. There was also the fellow rookie of Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowan, caught a nice post pattern today. So he's getting a little bit more involved in the 49ers offense as this thing moves on. Chris Furster, I said the offensive line coach, talked today. Check out the video I posted online. He's a lot of intel about the 49ers offensive line and their process. I'll probably delve a little bit further into that, but I did think that the Pooney pass protection compliment and the fact that he noted that Dominic Pooney is a better pass protector than a run blocker, I thought that was significant as far as the trend of the way that things the 49ers, as far as the trend of the way that the things around the 49ers are going. Then there's Brian Schneider, 49ers special teams coach. Remember, the kickoff rule this year is completely new. It's going to be a lot like the XFL. You're moving the kick coverage unit up. They're going to be starting in place. So they're not going to get the same running start that they got before, and it should be very advantageous to kickoff returns. Remember that the kickoff return was an essentially dead play here over the past few years in the NFL. So the NFL tried to make potential kick returns safer, and they want to bring that play back into the game, add some excitement. So it's going to be a lot of experimentation. I asked Brian Schneider, is this something that you're going to be able to figure out by training camp, or are you going to need the full contact of the preseason? He said, I'm going to need the whole season. The whole league is going to need the whole season to figure out the sizes of blockers and returners. If you want more power type returners or more elusive returners, I think that Deebo Samuel seems like the dream option just because he's elusive and he's strong. It's going to be much more of an offensive play to return kicks than your old school special teams play where all the gunners and just the players lining up on the kick had a full 25 to 30 yards to gain ahead of steam. Now you're going to be playing in much more close quarters. So Brian Schneider delved into that. You can check the video on Brian Schneider talking about the kickoff returns. He's like a mad scientist. He's really excited about this. This is like a Super Bowl. You can check that video. It is up on the channel. So that's 49ers OTA practice number 2. We're going to be back out at it a little bit later this week, but we'll be back out with the 49ers next week for mandatory veteran minicamp, 2 days of that. And, if Christian McCaffrey doesn't show up there, if Trent Williams doesn't show up there, those guys will get fined. So we've grown accustomed to seeing all of these 49ers players, even the ones that might be in some type of contract situation. So that includes Brandon Aiyuk, obviously. We've grown accustomed to seeing those guys at mandatory veteran minicamp. So that should certainly be interesting next week. But for now, it's Jauan Jennings. He has signed his 2-year extension, $15.4 million, the max value. 49ers have a big piece insured back in 2024 and 2025.